Coming up in a moment, one day after a presidential pardon and release from prison, the Al-Jazeera journalists return home.
This whole nightmare is over. The whole nightmare is over. We can live like normal people and go back home, enjoy my life, and that's it.
Highly anticipated video of the Ghana judges taking a bribe is shown in public. We have the latest from Accra. And later on, the opposition in Congo-Brazzaville staged a protest against the sitting president who is seeking a third term. Hello there and welcome to Network Africa on Channels Television with me, Cynthia Are. Happy holidays to all our viewers. Today is a restful day for the Muslim faithful and a day of celebration for the Al Jazeera journalists who have not only received a presidential pardon but have been released. The release came shortly after we informed you of the presidential pardon which the duo of Bahir Mohammed and Mohammed Fahmy received. Both names were on a list of 100 prisoners who were released yesterday, and in this next report we'll take you through what happened after Bahir Mohammed and Mohammed Fahmy regained their freedom.
After a long fight and a year of bad press, Egypt has finally caved into the pressure and released the Al Jazeera journalists Bahir Mohammed and Mohammed Fahmy. The joyous news came shortly after a presidential pardon was granted by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. The timing of the release couldn't have been more perfect, as the Egyptian president opted to pardon the duo 24 hours before the UN General Assembly. As for Mohammed Fahmy, the Canadian-Egyptian, he couldn't be happier.
We're going to travel the world, we're going to celebrate, we're going to party, and we just really hope that our families have suffered so much since the beginning of this trial, and we're very happy that President Sisi took this action and released us. I will continue fighting for press freedom. I have been working on a charter in the prison cell to introduce to the Egyptian Journalism Syndicate and to the presidency in Egypt to improve press freedoms for both Egyptian journalists and foreign journalists working in Egypt, because I believe there's so much is over.
This whole nightmare is over. The whole nightmare is over. We can live like normal people and go back home, enjoy my life, and that's it.
The pardons were reported by security sources and Egypt's state news agency, which said they included prisoners who violated a 2013 law banning protests without a permit, as well as some who were sick.
Well, some of you might be wondering why this case is such a big deal. Well, we'll take you through a sequence to help you understand how it all began. All this started on December the 29th, 2013, when security forces stormed into a 5-star hotel suite in Cairo and arrested the Canadian-Egyptian Mohammed Fahmy, who you're seeing on your screen, and Australian Peter Gresta and Egyptian Bahir Mohammed. All were working for Al Jazeera English, and authorities accused the men of meeting there to spread rumors harming national security. On December the 31st, Egypt's top prosecutor ordered the journalists to be held for 15 days on suspicion of joining a terrorist group referring to the Muslim Brotherhood, of ousted Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi, and for spreading false, harmful news to state security. On January the 13th, more than 50 news organizations, including the Associated Press, called on the Egyptian authorities to release the detained journalists. And that campaign has gone on for a long time. On January the 29th, the prosecutor then referred the case to trial. On February the 20th, the trial opened as the three journalists pled not guilty and shouted from the dock that their prison conditions were psychologically unbearable. On March the 18th, a rare gesture, the Egyptian interim president wrote to Peter Gresta's family saying he would push to expedite the case. On April the 10th, Egyptian prosecutors presented their first evidence to attempt to back up charges that the journalists and their co-defendants participated in terrorism and playing to the court an assortment of videos found in their possession. The defense lawyers dismissed the videos as irrelevant, while defendants shouted from the dock that the trial was a complete joke and an embarrassment to Egypt. On June the 23rd, the court convicted the three journalists, sentencing Peter Gresta and Fahmy to 7 years in prison and Mohammed to 10 years. The verdict brought a landslide of international condemnation and calls for newly elected President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to intervene. On June the 24th, President al-Sisi rejected calls from the United States and other Western governments that he pardon or commute the sentences of the three journalists. Now, here's where things got exciting. On February the 1st, 2015, Peter Gresta left Egypt on a flight to Cyprus following an apparent approval of his deportation from the country's president. There was no immediate word on Fahmy and Mohammed at the time. On February the 12th, Mohammed Fahmy and Baher Mohammed were released on a $33,000 bail pending their retrial, which was postponed over a dozen times. On August 29th, you will recall that the world of journalism and the world at large went crazy, in quote, when the Egyptian court sentenced the three journalists to 3 years in prison and gave Baher Mohammed an additional 6 months for being in possession of a bullet casing which he picked up during a protest. And history was made on September the 23rd. That was yesterday, when the Egyptian president pardoned Mohammed Fahmy and Baher Mohammed. The state-run MENA news agency said a third person from the Al-Jazeera case was also pardoned, but was not identified by name. Still to come on Network Africa. The highly anticipated video of the Ghana judges taking a bribe is shown in public. We have the latest from Accra.